Good morning, everybody. Jim Fleiss and Hank Goldberg. Happy Friday morning. Got a big weekend, Hank. We got basketball, we got baseball, we got NBA. And I kind of choke on the NBA because it's coming down to the end. We're getting to the playoffs. And then, of course, you got horse racing this weekend.
Yeah, big weekend for horse racing. You got the Santa Anita Derby, the Bluegrass, and the Wood. So three big races. The Santa Anita Derby only has 6 horses, and 2 of them are Baptist horses. And he has a horse called Roadster, who when the 2-year-old season started, that was the first horse he talked about. And Roadster came out in his first race. He looked sensational. And then in the Del Mar Futurity, he ran against Baptist's other horse, and he ran third against Game Winner. And he had some breathing problems in the race, and he had to have surgery, and he was laid off for a long time. Came back this year and ran an optional claiming race, and he looked terrific, training great. And I'll be interested to see what he does against Game Winner, who is going to be favored against him. And that's the race, really. It's not a good betting race. You're not going to make any money betting 2 Baffert horses in a 6-horse field. So it's really, for points, getting to the Derby, Roadster's got to hit the board. But Game Winner is really the horse for Baffert right now. We'll see what he does. He ran second in race at Oaklawn to Omaha Beach. Omaha Beach stayed at Oaklawn, and he's going to be running in the Oaklawn Arkansas Derby next week, which will be the last of the big preliminaries for the Derby. And the Derby's creeping up on us first Saturday in May. And next week's the Masters.
Yeah.
A lot going on. But anyway, the race you can make money on is the race at Keeneland. I've got some interesting information on that race. I talked to Dale Homans, who's a good friend of mine. He's got 2 horses in there. And he's got a 15-to-1 shot. Dale's won that race twice. But there's 2 good price horses in there I want to talk about. People will have to call and find out about that. I'm not giving away here.
Okay, they get that. They go to jimfeiss.com. Hank's plays, horses, basketball, baseball will all be there. jimfeiss.com. And Hank has been doing great. And congratulations, you had Texas last night in the NIT. That was a sleeper. That was never close.
Well, Texas was a pretty good team for a lot of the years. Shaka Khan is pretty good. I want to talk about coaching changes. The coach at TCU, Jamie Ness, I think he may be moving on to UCLA.
Wow.
That's a big move for UCLA. But the big move right now is, and they're reporting it's a done deal, is the move to the Knicks by one of the top players in the league going from California, Northern California to New York, and they're saying it's a done deal.
You're talking about KD, I take it.
Kevin Durant going, and they're also talking about the Celtics top player going along with him. And if the Knicks have the top draft pick and they can get Zion, all of a sudden the Knicks are a big story in the NBA again.
Boy, it's been a lot of years since that's happened. The Knicks haven't been relative for years, but if those 3 players end up there, they're going to be the story.
Well, it'd be quite a thing.
Sure would.
But they're saying that it's a done deal with Durant.
Well, I've heard that story as well. Let's hope so. We need a shakeup. We need it to get more interesting. What we need in the NBA, in my opinion, is we need to make the regular season more relative. Because I think it's insane. The whole regular season seems like a preseason exhibition. I'd like to see it more relative. I don't know how you do that, but it's you play the whole year and you get half the teams in the playoffs. A little insane to me, but that's the way they set it up. What else we got going on?
I don't know how you do it either.
No, it's I don't know if the league is a money maker from top to bottom, or if there's I don't know the financial structure, but you read about these players just sitting out for one reason or another, and now they come up with this term, load management, which means we're going to rest this guy because he's played too many minutes. Well, they paid a lot of money to play, and the people pay a lot of money to go see them play, and they show up at the stadium to see them play and find out they're all sitting out. It's just it's wrong for me. But
if Durant and Kyrie go to the Knicks, and the Knicks get Zion, that's going to stir things up. And
we need to stir. We need to stir it up. I'd like to see it. I like to see the changes. And God only knows what will happen with LeBron next year. If he'll come back and be relative and want to play. And we know he has the talent, but is he hungry enough to really want to go out and do it? That's because he's got a lot of projects going on off the court. And it's the whole thing's interesting. But baseball, how about some of these teams that are supposed to not be very good, and they're just started off the season doing real well, like the Baltimore Orioles, like Seattle. It's been interesting.
well, Baltimore blew a big lead yesterday against the Yankees, but Seattle is playing well. They're getting good pitching. The Yankees are one game below 500 now, but they've got three key players on the injured list. Big surprise to me are the Red Sox. They just have no pitching whatsoever. I'll tell you something else, too. The Cubs' relief pitching is awful. And you look at it, they've had as many base on balls among their relief pitching as most teams have for their whole game. It's terrible.
Well, it's early in the year. It's a long season, and we'll see what I never thought that the Cubs would be all that good this year anyway. But I'm a lot surprised at how bad they really are.
Meanwhile, Terry Francona got a nice contract extension.
That was good.
He's a good friend of mine. I'm happy to see that for him. He's signed through 2022 at Cleveland.
Yeah, I know he's a friend of yours. He's always done a great job with that team. They play in the division is weak enough, and they're favored to win it. Interesting game yesterday with Bauer, and they take him out, put him in the. They didn't take him out of the game. They put him in another position. He comes back and closes the game out.
He had a no-hitter going.
I know. It was a very interesting scenario going on there. Yeah. But we've got a lot of good baseball games coming up this weekend. The Tampa Bay Rays have been playing very well. Started the season off 5-2. They're at San Francisco tonight. Or actually today, I should say. It's not a night game. Glasnow against Rodriguez. Tampa Bay, people don't realize the Tampa Bay Rays had 90 wins last year. They're not a fluke.
Yeah.
This is a good team, and they got one of the best pitchers in baseball, Cy Young Award winner in Snell. This team is not a joke. They're a very serious team. In Seattle, like I said,
they're legit. They're projected to be a wild card team by a lot of people.
I believe it. I believe it. I don't know where Seattle came from. Nobody thought they were going to do all that well, but they're 7-1 right now, and they're playing at the White Sox, who I don't expect much from this year, but they're 7-1 going up to the White Sox a day game. It's an early start today at 11 o'clock our time, 2 Eastern. You got Houston has not been hitting the ball. They started off the season 2-5. That's interesting. And you mentioned the Cubs. They're 1-5. They're going to Milwaukee today. Woodruff is pitching for Milwaukee, and Milwaukee is 6-1 on the year so far. Baseball season really started out great, and I'm really happy for that because they're doing well. I've got a good feel for it right now, and I know you do as well. Very interesting.
Well, I'm watching some pretty bad baseball, to be honest with you. I think the season starts a little too early. I mean, the Cubs fundamentally are committing errors, and their relief pitching has been horrible. They can't throw strikes. A lot of teams are having trouble with their relief pitchers who can't throw strikes in games. They're loading up the bases and getting in trouble late in games. For Bauer to have to stay in the game when he has a no-hitter going, that shows you the lack of trust that they have for their bullpen.
Yeah, well, the bullpen usage is really, really have to stay on top of what the bullpen is doing and who's available each day, because it makes so much of a difference. A lot of the starting pitchers are used primarily for the price that's established before the game starts. But you may only have that starting pitcher for 4 or 5 innings. I mean, the other day, they took a player out who was pitching no-hitter, and I think because he threw 90 pitches. It's a different game than what we remember, that's for sure.
No, Pittsburgh's got a pretty good bullpen. They've got a decent team. They'll be fun. They'll be interesting to watch. And of course, the Mets. They've got some really good starting pitching. So.
Well, that DeGrom is he is amazing. He absolutely is. He's lethal. When he goes on the mound, you're just not going to get anything from him. He is just very tough. So it's not a secret. Everybody knows that. So it's really good. I'm excited, and good luck with the horse racing this weekend. Again, go to Jim5.com.
We didn't mention the Final Four. You remember that this weekend?
I didn't mention that. Isn't that funny? We got 4 really good teams. We got Michigan State, Texas Tech, we got Virginia, and we got Auburn. The numbers are low, so the odds makers are saying these should be some close games. I can't disagree with that. The tempo in the games is going to be interesting. You got 2 teams that really control tempo in Virginia and Texas Tech. And then Auburn likes to push the ball quite a bit. They are absent one of their better players. How it didn't stop them from winning the last game, but he is a very good player to have to be going forward without him. Virginia, of course, was a team that lost last year to a 16 seed, and now they're in the Final Four. It would be a remarkable story for a team that lost the previous year to a 16 and goes and cuts down the nets in the championship the following year. I'm not saying that will happen, but it's an interesting side story.
Well, they're the only number one seed that's left.
You're right, they are.
But before when the tournament started, we looked at Virginia and thought that of all the number one seeds, they had the matchups that favored them the most because all the teams they were playing, with one exception, and nobody thought that Auburn was going to go this far, were teams that matched their style. Oh.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
But anyway, so Virginia actually had it pretty much their way to get to the finals. Now they're playing against a team that doesn't match their style, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Auburn's going to try to push the ball, and Virginia plays at the slowest pace of any team in the country. And so it's going to be interesting. It's generally thought that it's easier to slow a game down than to speed it up, but that remains to be seen. The one thing about the game I don't like is if Virginia doesn't look like a team that you really want to trust to win by a big margin. And that 5.5 point spread, to me, is rather large. I would not have made that game that high. But interestingly enough, it's been that way, and it has not come down or gone up. It just stayed there. So obviously there's two-way action at that number. But I mean, if you're looking at the tempo of the game to be about 130 points, it takes a little bit more work to spread out and win by more than 6 or more when you're only looking at about 130 points in a game, if that tempo actually holds true. But,
well, Virginia has scored in the 70s in a couple of their games. I think they were at 73 and 78, 2 of their games. They depend on Guy for his outside shooting, and last game he came through for him. Previously he's been a little cold, but he's a key guy. Guy is key.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned he was a little cold. I think he was 3 and 26 in his previous 32, round numbers, I'm not 100% sure. 3 and 26 in his previous 3-point attempts. And then he got hot in that game, and that is very important for Virginia to open that up. He has to hit those shots. But that's true for anybody. We had that one player that went 0 for 13 on 3-pointers. I can't remember his name right now. For another team, they got eliminated. And the 3-point shot is very fickle. Obviously, it's the most distance. It's the most fickle of all the statistics we have in basketball. If you're not hitting them, you're pretty much dead unless you can control the boards. Anyway,
well, so far Auburn has averaged around 16 to 18 3-pointers per game, and that's helped to carry them.
Oh, absolutely. It's an amazing number to hit that many 3-pointers. It's amazing. They have the shooters, and Bruce Pearl has done a great job with this team. Nobody expected them to go this far. And it's been a remarkable coaching job on his part, no question. Should be 2 really good games, and then we have a Monday night championship game, and we'll be back to talk about that on Monday. So, Hank, anything else you want to cover before we get off here? You there, Hank? I think we lost Hank. But thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back to you Monday. Go to jimfeist.com, for Hank's Plays, my plays, and lots of other good information. And thanks for tuning in.